pleasant good morning, guys. Dr. Adrian here in the beautiful country of Barbados, and I'm just here under the tree outside the house. I've been thinking about some of the things that we don't think about very often. For example, security. Security. For us, security is having a good job, it is having a stable family. But do you realize that a lot of the things that we call stable are being shaken by unseen forces? And this morning I was chatting with a friend of mine on Zoom, and one of the things that he said to me is, we've never had a situation like this in our lives to deal with. Some persons have had World War II, and their great grandparents told them about it. And I said to him, well, the truth of the matter is that this is going to make us all stronger, and I think it's also going to make us realize that we are indeed more resilient than we think we are. As a coach, one of the things that I have learned is that you can't help people until you help yourself. And for me personally, this meant a lot of transformation. It's also meant a lot of saying no to a lot of things, a lot of public appearances, and getting yourself in order. Because a lot of people think that it's easy being a leader. What they don't realize is that the first person a leader has to lead is himself or herself. And I'm fascinated by persons who rise quickly, go to the top, and within the blink of an eye, you're saying, oh, that person, well, that person is a great leader, until some tragedy hits them or something bad happens. And I think that one of the things that life demonstrates to us is that we are all human. And my greatest lessons, in Brazil, was that don't let anybody judge you for loving somebody. Don't let anybody judge you for wanting to create a family. Don't let anybody judge you for wanting more out of life. Don't let anybody judge you for wanting to take your life to the highest level it possibly can, to do more than you possibly could, to expand your thinking, and to go to the deepest depths of understanding. The greatest thought that I had this morning about this security is knowledge. And while I was thinking about knowledge, I was thinking to myself, even the things that we thought we knew, we're really beginning to realize they're becoming unraveled, because people are upset, they're annoyed. We are acting, as people would say, out of character, but it's really within our character to protect ourselves. It's really within our character to try to reserve and to protect. But I have found that we don't really know what is on the inside of us until the pressure is applied. In my life, the pressure was applied so many times that it's hard to count. Some of the pressure that was applied was my own pressure. It was me personally not accepting the reality that I was living in. And the other pressure that was applied was circumstances beyond my control. And once I got to that place where I stopped trying to control everything and just let go, that is when God showed up and started to do things in my life. I can say to you guys that this is not an easy road that we have in front of us, but it's a road that we can learn to walk. It's a road that if we put our minds to it, we can overcome this. I am not just talking about, the virus. I'm also talking about what kind of society that we would like to live in, what kind of children that we would like to have, what kind of future would we like to sculpt for ourselves. I believe that song, "We Are the World and We Are the Children," is so unique to our situation. Because you see, if you damage the children, you damage the world, you damage the society. If you damage you damage your children, you damage the society. It's almost as if we are all living in a relationship with the world and the earth, and we have to take stock of how we treat our neighbors, how we treat our friends. And some people say to me, oh, who is my neighbor? And it was one of the biggest things that Christ was confronted with. Who is my neighbor? And I have come to accept, my neighbor is the person who is within my sphere of influence. So my neighbor could be my children. My neighbor could be my brother, my sister, my mother, my father, my aunts, my uncles. My neighbor could be my neighbor. And we are always quick to judge people, especially when we can't put them in a box. I have learned a long time ago that God is too creative to put us in a box. Why do we put ourselves in boxes and let other people put us in boxes? You are not where you come from. It has made you who you are. My family were poor, and we struggled a lot. I didn't go to the best places to find answers for myself. But I found answers to becoming a better man. I found answers to becoming a better person, a better friend, a better father. And I have learned so much, guys, in Brazil. I've learned that you can't take people for granted. I've learned that if you take yourself for granted, you might get sick. I've learned that the things that you think are permanent are not. I am extremely excited about the future, but at the same time, I'm afraid too, like everybody else. I feel like, wow, so if all of the things that we know are changing, how are we going to survive? And I had to come out of that survival mode thinking. I had to move to a place where I realized that nature has demonstrated a reality for us that we need to incorporate into our society. We have to see how nature thrives. There is the principle of thriving, that no matter what happens, given the right environment, there are some trees that actually create the right environment around them so that they can be sustained. I think that some of the things that we can start doing is we can start asking ourselves hard questions. Educational systems have not been teaching us how to think, how to ask those questions that make a difference. I have always been a person who's been curious. Within my spirituality, I've been curious. I've been curious about how all of this come about. Why is this the way it is? I've gone to my African roots. I've gone to Jewish roots. I've gone through history. I've gone to theology. And guys, these things don't make you better than anybody else. It just means you have more information. And what you do with that information is what's making you who you are.